You may already know that Jatayu, the giant divine vulture, fought valiantly against Ravan when he abducted Sita in the Ramayana. But did you know that Jatayu was 60,000 years old when he battled the demon king? Valmiki Ramayana's Aranya Kand, chapter 50, verse 20 has the line, Shashti Varsha Sahasrani Jatasya Mam. It has been 60,000 years since my birth. This is what Jatayu says. Coming now to the fateful day when Ravan tricked Sita and abducted her. At that time, in the age of the Ramayana, Jatayu lived in the Dandaka forest. And on that day, while resting near the hills, his divine eyes, capable of seeing for miles, spotted something alarming in the sky. A terrifying demonic figure flying in a chariot and carrying away a young woman who was shouting for help. It was clear it was an abduction. From that distance, Jatayu recognized the woman. She was Maa Sita. He had met her before, along with Ram and Lakshman, when the three of them had first entered Panchavati during their exile. Ram, Lakshman, Sita, as they travelled during the exile, entered Panchavati, and after a while they came upon a massive banyan tree, and upon its branches sat a gigantic vulture so large it seemed like a demon in bird form. Shocked, Lakshman instinctively drew his bow to protect Sita and Ram. He was about to unleash an arrow when the great bird spoke, "Stop, Sumitra Nandan." Lakshman stopped. No demon would call him Sumitra Nandan, which means son of Sumitra. Ram immediately realized the bird was no threat and asked, "Who are you?" The giant bird replied, "I am Jatayu, a friend of your father, King Dasharatha." That was when Ram, Lakshman, Sita met Jatayu and realized that he was a divine protector. And Jatayu pledged then to protect them as best as he could during their time in the forest. So when he saw Ravan abducting Sita, Jatayu rose into the air immediately and confronted the demon king. First he tried to reason with Ravan. "How dare you abduct a married woman, and that too the wife of Lord Rama?" But Ravan just ignored him and kept moving. Jatayu warned him once more, "If you do not release her, I will attack you." Again Ravan paid no attention. Seeing no other option, Jatayu prepared for battle. But Sita, seeing his aged form, pleaded with him not to fight. "You are too old, he is powerful beyond measure. Please go tell Ram and Lakshman what has happened." But Jatayu could not stand by and do nothing. He responded, "I cannot live knowing I stood still as adharma triumphed." And so he attacked. Despite his age, Jatayu was still a divine warrior, a powerful bird of immense strength. And this divine vulture, over 60,000 years old, swooped in like a storm. As he neared the chariot, his voice rang across the air, "Ravan, son of deceit, coward, release her or face the consequences." Ravan looked up, first in contempt, then in surprise. He had not expected resistance in midair, especially not from a bird. "Old creature," Ravan snarled, "turn back if you value your life." Jatayu's eyes blazed. "I have upheld my kingdom for 60,000 years. I am the son of Aruna, nephew of Garuda. I will not let adharma pass while I have breath." And then the skies turned into a battlefield. With a deafening cry, Jatayu dove into Ravan's chariot. His talons slashed through the winds and ripped into Ravan's arm, drawing blood. Ravan staggered. The chariot shook. Jatayu tore through the demon mules, sending one crashing into the forest below. He battered the chariot's frame, snapping its yoke, tilting it dangerously. For a moment, Sita saw hope, saw Ravan falter. Ravan, furious, raised his bow and fired a volley of arrows. Jatayu twisted midair, wings slicing the wind, dodging, spinning, diving. He just brushed off the arrows. But the air was searing with power. Jatayu slashed with his talons and broke Ravan's bow. Then Jatayu attacked again, this time with his beak and talons, aiming straight for Ravan's chest. He struck, Ravan reeled, but Ravan, wounded and enraged, drew his enchanted sword, the Chandrahasha. Gifted by Shiva himself, its blade sang as it cut through the air. Jatayu charged one more time, but in a flash of silver light, the sword came down, and with a cruel arc, it sliced through Jatayu's wing. The great bird screamed, his body noble and broken spiraled downward, feathers trailing behind like falling stars. Blood rained over the forest, and Sita, weeping, cried out his name, Jatayu. Ravana, panting, battered and furious, sped off into the southern sky, taking Sita farther from the world she knew. And Jatayu, the warrior, the divine vulture, fell. But he fell not in defeat, he fell in glory. Later, as Ram and Lakshman searched the forest, they found Jatayu, lying, almost dying on the forest floor. Ram, seeing Jatayu, was deeply disturbed. He gently placed Jatayu's head on his lap and asked what had happened. With his last breaths, Jatayu told Ram about Ravana's abduction, and then, with great sorrow, begged forgiveness for failing to save Sita. But Ram replied, "No, noble bird, you have not failed. You are a hero, a great spirit, and a true warrior of dharma. I shall perform your last rites myself." Jatayu wept with gratitude, saying that no greater honor could be his than to have Lord Rama conduct his funeral. When Jatayu died, Ram performed his last rites with full respect. According to tradition, as Rama offered moksha, he said, "Rise, O bird." The phrase Rama used, Lepakshi, is believed by some to be the origin of the name Lepakshi, a village in present-day Andhra Pradesh, said to be the spot where Jatayu fell. But the story doesn't end with Jatayu's sacrifice. He had an elder brother named Sampati, who later gave a crucial piece of information in Rama's quest to find Sita, which I'll tell you about in just a little while. Now, Jatayu and Sampati were the sons of Aruna, the divine charioteer of the sun god Surya, and his wife Shayani, a celestial bird. Jatayu was the younger son and Sampati the elder. They belonged to a divine avian lineage, for their uncle was Garuda, the mighty eagle and vehicle of Lord Vishnu. Aruna and Garuda were brothers, making Jatayu and Sampati part of a celestial family devoted to dharma. Jatayu's story doesn't begin with his final battle. It begins long before. He and his brother Sampati were born to Aruna, the charioteer of Surya, the sun god, and Shayani, born of divine blood and sky-bound destiny. Jatayu and Sampati were no ordinary vultures. They were radiant beings gifted with strength, speed, and powerful wings that stretched across the heavens. In their youth, they were inseparable, soaring above mountains and oceans, racing the winds, teasing the clouds, and pushing the limits of flight. One day, driven by pride and playfulness, the two brothers decided to see who could fly higher. And Jatayu, ever daring, rose higher and higher. But as he approached the burning radiance of Surya, the sun, the heat started to become unbearable. Suddenly, his feathers started to singe. They started to burn. That's when Sampati did something extraordinary. He flew above Jatayu, spreading his vast wings to shield his younger brother. The sun's blazing heat fell upon Sampati instead, scorching his wings and sending him plummeting to earth. Jatayu survived. Sampati never flew again. Far away, wounded, and on the ground, Sampati was found by a sage. The holy sage, Nishakara, tended to his wounds, cared for him, and offered him shelter in the forest. But for centuries and centuries, the two brothers, Jatayu in the skies, Sampati on the earth, never saw each other again. Jatayu believed his brother was gone. Sampati believed his wings and purpose were lost. Until one day, something changed. It was the time of Rama's exile. Jatayu had already given his life trying to stop Ravana. Word of his heroic death had spread. Far to the south, a group of Vanaras led by Angad, Hanuman and Jambavan were searching for Sita. Exhausted, hopeless and near the ocean's edge, they sat in despair, speaking of Jatayu's sacrifice, wondering how they would ever find Lanka. Sampati, now an old broken bird, overheard them. He was watching them from on top of a massive mountain, and when he heard the word Jatayu, he moved closer and then showed himself to the Vanars and told them, "Tell me what you are talking about." When Sampati heard that his brother had died defending Rama's wife, he was filled with a mix of grief and pride. "So Jatayu fulfilled his destiny after all," he said, "and now I shall fulfill mine." Though his wings were gone, Sampati's divine sight was there. a gift of his celestial birth. His eyes could see thousands and thousands of miles and across oceans and even across the curvature of the earth. And there in the far distance beyond the seas, he saw Sita. Sita, Sampati said, she is in Lanka, held captive in a garden guarded by Rakshasas. That one revelation changed everything. After Sampati revealed Sita's location in Lanka to the Vanaras, a miraculous event occurred. As prophesied by the sage Nishakara, who had cared for him after his fall, Sampati's wings were suddenly restored. This divine restoration symbolized the fulfillment of his purpose and the end of his long penance. It was Sampati's vision that pointed the Vanaras in the right direction. It was Sampati's final gift that led Ram's army to Lanka. And so between the two brothers, Jatayu and Sampati, the path of dharma was lit from the sky and the earth. One gave his life, the other gave his vision. But there is one more chapter left to tell. The story of how Jatayu and King Dasharatha, Ram's father, became friends. There are two versions of this meeting, told in different traditions. In one account found in older scriptural and poetic retellings, specifically the Sri Rama Panchali, Bengali Ramayana by Kritibas Oja, King Dasharatha once faced a great drought in Ayodhya. Desperate to find relief for his people, he sought out Shanidev, the deity associated with karma and cosmic justice. But as he neared the domain of Shani, the planet's intense gravitational force and spiritual radiance overwhelmed him. His chariot broke apart and Dasharatha fell from the skies. As he hurtled towards the earth, Jatayu saw him fall from a distance. Recognizing a righteous king in distress, Jatayu swooped in, caught him midair and gently lowered him to the ground. From that moment, a bond of deep friendship and mutual respect was born. Now there is one more version, another telling, which is more popular in folk tradition. Dasharatha was deep in meditation, learning the art of Shabdavedi Ban, the ability to hit a target by sound alone. And he was there in the Panchavati area itself. And during this intense sadhana in the forest, a group of Rakshasas, who were part of Ravana's army, suddenly decided to attack him. They were hoping to kill the king of Ayodhya while he was vulnerable. But Jatayu, watching from the treetops, saw this. He dived into battle, tearing through the demons with beak and claw, and saved Dasharatha's life. Humbled and grateful, Dasharatha embraced Jatayu not just as a protector, but as a lifelong friend. Whichever version you choose to believe, one thing is clear. Jatayu was not just a guardian of Sita, he was a friend of Dasharatha, a protector of dharma, a celestial being who lived not for glory but for righteousness. He stood against evil even when he knew he might fall. He gave his all not because he had to, because he chose to. He showed us that honor is not measured by victory, but by courage in the face of darkness. According to local legend in Kerala, it is believed that Jatayu fell onto the rocky cliffs of Chadayamangalam in the Kollam district after Ravana severed his wings during the fierce mid-air battle. The very name Chadayamangalam is thought by some to be derived from Jatayu Mangalam, meaning the sacred place of Jatayu. Today, the site is home to the Jatayu Earth Center, where a magnificent statue of Jatayu spreads his wings across the hilltop. Measuring 200 feet wide, it is recognized as the largest bird sculpture in the world, a fitting tribute to the divine vulture who gave everything in defense of dharma. And what does Jatayu teach us today in this world, in our world? Well, in a world full of noise and self-interest, Jatayu is a symbol of silent courage. He didn't wait to be asked, he didn't measure odds, he simply did what was right, even at the cost of his life. He teaches us that even when you feel small, broken, old or tired, you still have the power to stand up for truth. You still have the strength to protect what is sacred. And like Jatayu, you can still do the right thing against all odds. If you like this retelling of our Itihasa, do like, share and subscribe to Up on Top. That is what drives us to create more videos that inspire and inform. Until next time.